Have you ever stopped to think how much of your life is spent worrying about things that often don't come to pass? How many nights have you wasted imagining scenarios that never happened? What if I told you there was a way to free yourself from this burden right now? Why do we carry so much when there's a simpler, more powerful solution right in front of us? Worry promises you control, but delivers only fear. Why is that? What are you trying to solve on your own that you could turn over to the Father and find peace? Stay with me to the end of this video. I'm going to reveal a truth that not only frees the mind, but transforms the heart. A message that can change the way you face life and free you from what has held you back for so long. Don't let this opportunity pass you by. Your peace can begin now. Are you ready to find out how? Have you ever noticed how worry sneaks up on you? It arrives uninvited, takes up residence in your mind, and suddenly you find yourself reliving 1,001 scenarios that may never happen. It's like an unwelcome visitor taking up precious space in your heart, sucking up your energy, stealing your peace and taking the sparkle out of your days. How many times have you failed to enjoy a moment because you were caught up in what could go wrong? How many joys have been postponed because your mind was stuck on what if? The truth is, worry doesn't add a single second to your life. It promises solutions, but delivers only weight. I once knew a man who was so consumed by his worries that his eyes no longer shone. He feared losing his job, getting sick, and being forgotten by those he loved. His mind was always ahead, dwelling on things that hadn't happened yet. When I asked him what had actually happened to all the things he feared, he remained silent. None of his fears had ever come true. How many of your fears have never come true, and yet you have allowed them to rob you of your peace? The future is not solved by fear, but by trusting in the present. It's natural to want to avoid suffering and protect yourself from the unexpected. The problem arises when this protection becomes a cycle of endless thoughts, trying to control what was never in your control. Worrying is like trying to hold onto water with your fingers. The harder you squeeze, the more it escapes. Why spend so much energy trying to manipulate what only time and life can reveal? The truth is that there is an easier way. You were not made to carry such heavy burdens. I remember observing the lilies that grow effortlessly and the birds that are always provided for with no storage. Nature goes its way in perfect harmony without worrying about tomorrow. If even small birds are cared for, why should you doubt that you will be cared for? Isn't the value of your life much greater than that of a small bird? The Father, who knows your needs even before you ask, has already prepared what you need. Trusting in this is not ignoring problems, but choosing not to be enslaved by them. I know there are times when the mind cries louder, asking, "But what if I fail? What if I lose? What if it doesn't work?" Answer these thoughts with another question. What if it works? What if this situation brings lessons that I don't see today? What if, instead of fighting it, I learn to flow with what life throws at me? Worry comes from the fear of losing control, but freedom comes when you realize that you never had to control everything. The universe follows a much greater order than your plans, and sometimes what seems like an obstacle is actually a hidden path to something better. Imagine you are standing in front of a river. If you fight against the current, you will get tired and barely move. But if you learn to navigate alongside the water, you'll discover that the journey can be smoother than you imagined. Life is like that. There are situations that call for action and others that call for surrender. Knowing how to differentiate is a wisdom that brings peace. To surrender is not to give up, but to trust that there are bigger hands guiding your path. Perhaps you've been taught to worry all the time as if it were a sign of responsibility. But responsibility isn't about carrying the world alone. It's about doing your part and leaving the rest for the right time. It's a relief to know that you don't have to have all the answers right now. Life reveals itself little by little, like the pages of a book that only makes sense when read with patience. Each worry you let go of is an open space for new blessings to enter. But for that to happen, you have to make a choice. Stay stuck in what can go wrong, or open up to the possibility that life can surprise you with good things. You choose what you feed your mind, and where your thoughts rest is where your heart resides. Letting go of the weight of worry is allowing stillness to find a home within you. And as you do, you begin to see solutions that were previously obscured by the fog of fear. Clarity comes to those who choose to rest in the now without getting lost in projections of what might be. The question is, are you ready to experience this ease? For there is another side to this conversation, something that reveals why we cling so tightly to this false control and how we can finally let go of this rope that hurts our hands. How often have you found yourself trying to control everything around you? People, situations, the future. It's as if there is a silent belief that if you plan enough, anticipate every detail, you can avoid life's pains and setbacks. But tell me, how many of your plans have turned out exactly as you imagined? And how many times have unexpected twists and turns resulted in something better than what you had planned? Trying to master the uncontrollable is exhausting, and in the end it's just an illusion. A long time ago, I watched people wear themselves out trying to control every situation. It was like someone trying to hold back the wind with their hands, pointless and exhausting. The desire for absolute control comes from fear. Fear of the unknown, fear of losing something, or fear of the unexpected. But ironically, it is this very fear that creates the most suffering. When you try to force life to follow your script, you forget that there is a natural flow that is far greater and wiser than any plan your mind can conceive. Imagine a traveler on a winding road. He tries to see what lies beyond the bend, but his eyes can only reach so far. Insisting on seeing beyond what is possible only leads to frustration, and yet every step he takes brings him closer to his goal, even if he can't see all the way. That's life. It reveals itself at the right time, not before. Clinging to control is like fighting against something that was never yours to control. The real relief comes when you accept that you don't control everything, and that's okay. I'm not telling you to be passive or to stop acting. Conscious action is important. What I'm inviting you to realize is that there is a difference between doing your part wisely and anxiously trying to manipulate every detail. Do what you can, but free yourself from the need to guarantee specific results. For life often has a surprising way of leading you exactly where you need to go, even if it's not the path you imagined. How many blessings have you received from situations that at first seemed like disasters? When you let go of the need to control, something extraordinary happens. Your mind relaxes, your heart opens, and answers that seemed far away begin to emerge. It's like a lake that, when it's agitated, reflects nothing, but when it's still, it clearly reveals what's around it. Peace is not in having all the certainties, but in trusting that even when everything seems uncertain, there is an order behind events. What appears to be chaos is sometimes only the beginning of a new order. Perhaps you fear that if you let go of control, everything will fall apart. Haven't you noticed that some of the best things in life happen when you least expect them? There are times when planning is necessary, yes, but there are others when you just need to breathe and let life flow. Control is a burden. Trust is a relief. I've seen many people lose themselves in worries that were only in their heads. They fought situations that hadn't even happened, creating storms on clear days. What's the point of anticipating every problem if it distances you from the peace you could be experiencing today? It's important to remember that life happens in the present. The past is gone, the future hasn't arrived yet. All you really have is now. And right now you can choose to let go, choose to trust. Letting go is not abandonment, it is conscious surrender. It's doing the best you can and then allowing the universe to complete the work. It's saying, I've done my part, now I trust that the rest will be taken care of. And that trust is not empty. It comes from the certainty that there is something greater guiding you, sustaining you, supporting you every step of the way. You've never been alone, even if you felt that way at times. When you give up control, you make room for the unexpected to manifest. And sometimes it's in the unexpected that life reveals its greatest gifts. It's liberating to realize that not everything needs to be predicted, that there is beauty in surprise and wisdom in the unpredictable. Your journey can become easier when you stop fighting the current and learn to sail with it. And it's strange how when you stop resisting, the peace you've been seeking begins to draw closer. Like a visitor waiting to be invited in, it enters when you open the door of trust and close the door of worry. And then you begin to wonder, If letting go brings so much relief, why did I cling so tightly to control? Perhaps because deep down we believe that if we're not in charge, something will go wrong. But what if the opposite is true? What if letting go is what allows everything to fall into place in the best possible way? And so life takes its course, offering choices at every turn. You can keep trying to hold the reins, or you can choose to trust the flow that is already happening around you. And when you make that choice, you'll realize that behind all this need to control is something even deeper, the fear of facing life's storms. But are storms really so threatening? Or is there something we can remember even in the midst of them? There are times when life seems like an endless storm. The sky darkens, the winds blow hard, and you feel like you're in the middle of a raging sea with no land in sight. At such times, the mind is filled with questions. Why is this happening to me? Will this pain ever go away? Will I be able to make it through another day? And the truth is, everyone faces storms at some point. They come without warning, disrupt our plans, and sometimes make us think there's no way out. But there's something to remember. No storm lasts forever. I once watched an experienced sailor sailing in a strong wind. He didn't try to fight the waves or stop the storm. Instead, he adjusted the sails and kept the helm steady. Because he knew the wind can be fierce, but if you learn to position yourself, you can even use it to move forward. So it is with difficulties. Resisting them only leads to more pain. Accepting that they are part of life's journey is the first step to overcoming them. But I understand, when the pain is great, when loss is crushing your heart, or when uncertainty seems unbearable, it's hard to believe that there is anything beyond the dark clouds. At such times, it's natural to want to give up, hide, or just hope it all goes away. But running from the storm doesn't make it go away any faster. What strengthens you is to remember that even when the thunder is loud and the waves seem to be swallowing you up, there is a place of calm within. True peace doesn't lie in a life without problems, but in finding serenity even in the midst of chaos. Have you ever noticed how the air is lighter and the sky clearer after rain? Nature teaches us that it often takes a storm for the soil to be renewed and the fruit to sprout more vigorously. It's the same in your life. Difficulties, no matter how painful, have the potential to transform you, to reveal strengths you didn't even know you had, and to take you to places you wouldn't have known otherwise. What seems like an end today can actually be the beginning of something new. There's a story that always comes to mind when I talk about facing difficult times. There was a man who had lost everything: his job, his possessions, his hope. As he sat on the ground in tears, he looked up to the sky and asked, "Why, Lord? Why is this happening to me?" Silence seemed to be the only answer, but in time new ways began to open up. What he thought was failure was the push he needed to discover dormant talents and rebuild his life with a greater purpose. What seemed like destruction was actually the ground being cleared for something better to be born. It's important to remember that as long as you breathe, there are possibilities. And even when you can't make sense of what's happening, there is a purpose beyond your momentary understanding. Not all answers come at the time we want them, but life has its own way of showing us why things happen at the right time. In the meantime, your part is to stand firm. When the waters are rough, stay on your feet. Rest if you must, but don't give up. For no matter how long the storm may seem, the sunlight is there, just hidden, waiting for its moment to reappear. And when doubt or fear tries to paralyze you, remember that you've weathered other storms. Maybe you didn't think you could either. But look, you're here now. Breathing, living, moving on. If past storms didn't destroy you, then this one won't have power over you unless you give it that power. Fear screams, but faith whispers softly, "It will pass." Trust. Even on the greyest of days, try to find something to be thankful for. Sometimes it's a small detail that reminds you that even in the midst of pain, life still has beauty. An unexpected smile, a warm hug, the song of a bird in the morning. These little signs are like rays of sunshine breaking through the clouds, reminding you that hope is never completely extinguished. It may falter, but it's there, ready to be rekindled. So when the storm doesn't seem to be abating, close your eyes for a moment, take a deep breath and ask yourself, What is this experience trying to teach me? Sometimes the lesson is patience. Sometimes it's about detachment. And often it is about trusting that there is a greater force guiding you, even when everything seems uncertain. For life, despite its uncertainties, is a daily invitation to believe. To believe that after pain comes healing. After loss comes the unexpected. And after darkness, light is always born. And it's strange how, as you walk through the storm with this perspective, you begin to realize something even more surprising. The true source of strength has never been outside, but has always been within. And it is from this realization that the question arises, if peace is so close, why do we so often seek it so far away? How often have you looked for answers in distant places, consulting people, waiting for external signs, believing that the solution would come from outside? It's natural to want support, to listen to advice, or to hope for change around you. But what few people realize, and what you may not have realized, is that what you are looking for is already there, much closer than you think. There is a quiet strength within you, a forgotten wisdom, a space of calm that remains intact, even when everything around you seems to be falling apart. I've seen many get lost in the rush of life, hoping that something external would bring peace or completeness. Some thought it would be success, others thought it would be relationships or material goods. But what happens when you get what you wanted so badly and still feel empty? This is because true satisfaction is not found in fleeting things. What feeds the soul can't be bought or found outwardly. It's a discovery made in the stillness of the heart. There was a woman who came to me in the midst of despair and said, "I've done everything to be happy, but there's always something missing. What else can I do?" I looked into her eyes and asked, "When was the last time you listened to yourself? Not to others, not to the world, but to yourself?" She remained silent. The truth is that we are often so busy looking for external solutions that we forget to listen to our own soul. And there, in that inner space, is the peace that doesn't depend on circumstances. There is a point of light within you that never goes out, even when it is covered by worry, sorrow, or fear. The question is, have you allowed yourself to access it, or have you allowed yourself to be distracted by outside noise and postpone this reconnection? Quieting the mind doesn't mean running away from problems, but allowing answers to come from a deeper place than anxious thoughts can reach. The solution to many of your dilemmas lies not in running more, but in stopping, breathing, and looking inward. Imagine a lake. When it's choppy, the surface is murky and you can't see anything. But when the water is calm, you can see the bottom clearly. So it is with your mind. If you live in constant turmoil, the answers get lost in the noise. But if you seek stillness, whether in prayer, in a moment of gratitude, or simply by observing your breathing, you allow the truth to reveal itself. And this truth is not something you learn from the outside in. It is already within you, waiting to be rediscovered. It's not about denying external challenges. They exist, but the way you face them changes completely when you come from a place of inner stillness. Life never stops presenting challenges, but you can choose the inner state with which you face them. It's like the difference between sailing through a storm in a fragile boat or in a solid and safe ship. Your connection to that inner strength is what anchors you in the midst of turbulence. I remember a man who thought his life was over when he lost everything. But when he stopped fighting reality and started turning inward, he found a peace he didn't even know he could feel. He realized that his true wealth was not in the possessions he had lost, but in the ability to begin again with a lighter heart and clearer mind. External circumstances may change, but what really transforms life is what goes on inside. You may ask yourself, but how do you access this inner strength? The answer is easier than it seems. Begin with small moments of presence. When you wake up, instead of rushing around with 1,000 thoughts, close your eyes for a moment and give thanks for the new day. When worry comes, take a deep breath and say to yourself, "Now I choose peace." And when doubt comes, put your hand on your chest and feel there's a heart beating there, a sign that life is still pulsating within. You with infinite possibilities. You don't have to have all the answers right now. You do not need to solve everything at once. What you do need, and this makes all the difference, is to trust that the solutions will present themselves step by step. And the more you turn inward, the more you realize that you are not alone. There is a greater intelligence guiding your path. And when you connect with it, even the most challenging situations become opportunities for growth and learning. It's a relief to realize that the peace you so desperately seek is not dependent on others or circumstances. It is available here and now. All it takes is a conscious decision to stop looking outside for what has always been inside, for it is within your own being that you will ultimately find the source of strength, wisdom, and love that can transform your life. And when you realize this, something even more surprising reveals itself. If this peace already lives within you, how can you transform the fear that insists on appearing? Is it possible to transform this restlessness into practical confidence, even in the face of fear and uncertainty? The answer is closer than you think. Anxiety, that feeling that squeezes your chest, speeds up your thoughts, and makes your heart race. How often has it come unannounced, stealing your peace and dominating your days? Maybe you've tried to fend it off with distractions, occupied your mind with 1,000 tasks, or searched for explanations for what you're feeling. But the truth is, the more you fight it, the more it insists on staying. It's like trying to put out a fire with more fire. It just makes the flames grow. What if I told you there was another way? A simple secret that few people know, but which has the power to transform that restlessness into something amazing: confidence. Have you ever noticed that fear always takes you into the future? It whispers, "What if it goes wrong? What if you don't succeed? What if the worst happens?" It pulls you towards possibilities that most of the time don't even come true, and yet you suffer as if they were real. It's as if your mind is a projector, creating horror movies about situations that don't exist. And while you watch these mental scenarios, you forget about the only place where life really happens: the present. But here's the secret that few realize: fear is not an enemy. It's a signal, a call to come back to the now and realize that you are safe right now. Close your eyes for a moment and feel your breath, air in, air out. Your heart is beating. Life happens here right now. The future, with all its uncertainties, has not yet arrived, and the past is long gone. The present is the only point of power you have. When you understand this, you begin to see that fear loses its power when you choose to be in the present moment. I once met a man who was tormented by the fear of what might happen to his family. Every day was a struggle with thoughts of loss and tragedy. He was so immersed in these fears that he could hardly appreciate what he had. I asked him, "Is your family safe right now?" He hesitated and answered, "Yes." And then I said, "Then, embrace that truth now. Be grateful for what is instead of getting lost in what could be." Gradually, he learned to redirect his attention, and in doing so, he found a relief that worry never gave him. Transforming fear into confidence is first and foremost a choice. It's choosing to believe that even when you can't see the whole picture, there is a purpose unfolding. It's accepting that not having all the answers doesn't mean you're lost. It means you're alive in a world full of possibilities. And even more than that, it's trusting that there is a greater power sustaining your journey, guiding your steps, and taking care of the details that are beyond your reach. But how do you cultivate that trust in practice? Start with simple gestures. When anxiety strikes, pause for a moment and breathe deeply. Say to yourself, "I choose to trust." When thoughts of fear arise, respond with gratitude. "I am grateful for what I have today." And when doubt tries to paralyze you, remember how many times you have faced challenges that seemed insurmountable, and yet you overcame them. Your story is full of victories that fear tried to hide. Confidence is not the absence of fear. It's moving forward in spite of it. It's like walking through a fog, not seeing more than a few steps ahead, but knowing that the path will reveal itself as you go. Life is like that. You can't always see the final destination, but every step you take with faith brings you closer to what's best for you. And it's often in the uncertainty that the greatest blessings are hidden. There's a story I like to remember. A gardener planted seeds in dry soil. For weeks, nothing sprouted. Many said he was wasting his time, that he should give up. But he continued to water, tend, and wait. One day, without warning, the first sprouts appeared, and in time the plants blossomed with a beauty that no one expected. So it is with confidence. At first it seems as if nothing is changing. But as you persevere, you begin to see the fruits of your patience and faith. You might think, what if I trust and things still don't turn out the way I expect? The answer is simple. What you want is not always what you need most. Sometimes what appears to be disappointment is actually protection. The universe has a vision beyond your current understanding. And when you look back, how many situations have turned out better than you could have imagined, even if they seemed to go against your wishes at the time? Cultivating this confidence is not a one-time act, it's a daily practice. Start with small steps. When you wake up, be grateful for the simple fact that you are alive. During the day, choose not to feed thoughts that pull you down. And when you go to bed, acknowledge something good that happened, no matter how small. Trust grows as you feed gratitude and let go of the need to control everything. And the most beautiful thing is to realize that as you do this, the peace that seemed so far away begins to come closer. Like a gentle breeze after a hot day, it enters your being and reminds you, you are not alone. You never were. And this certainty alone is an indescribable relief. The heart relaxes, the mind calms, and the soul is at peace. Because at the end of the day, the greatest liberation is this: letting go of fear and embracing the confidence that has always been within your grasp. So when fear strikes, take a breath and make a choice. Continue to lose yourself in what could go wrong, or open yourself up to what could go right. The choice is in your hands, and life, in all its generosity, always responds to what you choose to feed it. Now I ask you, if peace is so close, what is stopping you from choosing it? Sometimes the greatest transformations begin with the smallest steps, and maybe this is your moment. We've come this far, and if there's one thing I want you to take away with you, it's this truth. You are stronger than you know, more supported than you know, and more loved than you can understand. Worry may have been with you for a long time, but it does not define who you are. You were not born to live as a prisoner of fear, nor to carry burdens that are not yours. Life is too precious to be wasted worrying about a tomorrow that hasn't even arrived yet. The time to let go is now. The time to trust is today. The peace you seek is waiting to be chosen. Don't let the storms dim your light. Don't let fear blind you to the blessings that surround you. For when you choose to trust, the universe responds with doors that open, paths that reveal themselves, and strength that is renewed. You are capable. You are supported. You are guided. And remember, it's not about having all the answers. It's about trusting the one who guides you. Now let your soul be filled with that certainty. You have never been alone. Never. And it is with all my love that I say to you, may your path be illuminated. May peace dwell within you, and may love guide your every step. Go forward. You are brighter than you know.